League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization, encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The goal of the League of Women Voters of the United States is to empower citizens to shape better communities worldwide.
Welcome to today's candidate forum brought to you by the League of Women Voters of the Midland area and Midland Community Television, or MCTV. You will be hearing from candidates for Midland County Drain Commissioner. I am Kim Steinke, President of the League of Women Voters of the Midland area. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that works at the national, state, and local levels. Membership in the League is open to all people age 16 and over, both women and men. We are committed to the informed and active participation of citizens in government, and we neither support nor oppose candidates. We always welcome new members. Information about joining the League is available at our website, www.lwv-midland.org. or you can ask any League member about it. Here is an overview of how today's program will run. We'll start out with an introduction of the candidates running for the office and give each candidate 2 minutes for an opening statement. After each has given an opening statement, I'll pose questions to which each will be asked to respond. Each candidate will be allowed an initial 2 minutes as well as a reply after both have had an opportunity to give initial responses. Replies will be limited in length to 1 minute per candidate. The candidates have participated in a coin toss to determine who will be the first speaker. That order will be rotated in responding to questions throughout the forum. Following the questions and answer period, each candidate will have an opportunity to make a 1 minute closing statement. Jane Worth is our official timer, she's seated next to me. She will be raising a warning card when the speaker has 30 seconds, then 15 seconds. When time is up, I will stop the speaker, allowing only the completion of a sentence. So let's get started with the candidates for the County Drain Commissioner. The candidates vying for this seat are Democrat Cal Wentworth and Republican Joe Silva. Down to business. Cal has drawn the privilege of being the first to give his opening statement. Go ahead.
Well, how you doing? My name is Cal. I am running for Midland County Drain Commissioner. I have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren, and I've always had a strong work ethic. I grew up on a farm, and over many of days, I walked all of the Midland County drains, and I trapped beavers, actually, for the Midland County Drain Commissioner back in the day. I grew up, like I said, I grew up on a farm, and I believe that really proved me to give me that good work ethic. After the farm, I became a mechanic for the North Mid Ford company right there in Midland. And I took that job so I could pay my way through landscape design. I did that for a while, took several classes. I worked on some pretty good golf courses, the Grand Hotel, Garland, the Bear, Polecat. I worked on all of them with several other men, of course. Then I became a carpenter and joined the union and worked for Northwood University as a carpenter. Then I also did building maintenance. And I did that for several years for the Kmart Corporation. I had several of their 1 million square foot facilities located throughout the United States. I also, after all that prepared me to get my builder's license. So I'm actually a residential builder that I hold that license today. I opened up a construction company and worked in the Midland area for several of our residents. While I did that, I also was an assistant store manager for the Lowe's Corporation. So with all my construction experience and all that, with a little bit of my background, I think I'd make a good fit for the Midland County Drain Commissioner.
Thank you. Joe, you have the floor for 2 minutes. Need to unmute.
My name is Joe Silva, and I am running as the Republican candidate for the Midland County Drain Commissioner. I grew up in Midland County, worked for a family business, Silva Excavating and Trucking, throughout my teenage years and into my late teens, until I went to school over at Central Michigan, graduated with an undergraduate degree in business, finance, and accounting. I moved to Chicago, worked in the financial industry for about 7 years. Met my wife through a family friend here in Midland, and I moved back to Midland. Immediately got my graduate degree at Saginaw Valley and went to work for Walboro Corporation in the Thumb for about a year on a contract, and then short stint at Dow Corning. And then a position at the City of Midland came about. It was a created position as the budget analyst for utilities. And for me, that was a full circle. I was able to, from the administrative side, work in all of the areas that I worked in as a kid, putting in water mains, water services, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, digging basements, cleaning ditches, digging ditches. And I was able to be part of a group in a department at the city that oversaw the wastewater plant, the water plant, the landfill, the storm sewer system, and renewable energy. And I retired from the city as its director of all of those functions last year. And I look forward to being the next drain commissioner where I can extend my community service.
Thank you. Thank you both for that introductory information. Now let's begin hearing the answers to questions that members of the Midland League believe will be of interest to voters. I'll let you know when it's your turn to answer each question. Also, I will repeat a question for anyone who asks. Joe, we'll take your response first to this question. You have 2 minutes. Since the Drain Commissioner is the only elected official that can tax the people without a vote of the people in Michigan, how would you work with the public to give a sense of transparency and a chance for input?
The drain code is long established, and it does outline how and when the drain commissioner can assess to improve the drains in the county. I would first and foremost follow what is in place, the rules that are in place, the laws that are in place. My communication via, whether it be in mail or phone, in person, social media, I am all about making sure that what we're doing is known to the public, why we're doing it, and what gives us the legal authority to do it. But in the same note, I would not try to force anything on people. This position is about a partnership between the county residents and property owners and the drain commissioner. And it is a partnership that it takes time to develop and nurture. and I would extend a hand to anyone that I would be working with, so that I can bring them into the process so they are well aware of how it works, what their voice is, what their rights are, and so that we can have smooth process of keeping our drains clean. Thank you.
Okay. Cal, what is your response to this first question? And again, you have 2 minutes. Oh, take off your mic.
Okay, my answer to that is the only way that a drain commissioner can actually levy taxes once the drain commissioner is petitioned for some residents getting together and they petition the drain commissioner for maybe like their farmland is flooding or something's wrong or a river is maybe an existing drain is flooded or culverts plugged. Once they petition the drain commissioner, then there's meetings that are held and people, public hearings are all put out, and then everybody gets all that information right up front. And I would make sure that the people were told everything right up front, very transparent. I don't believe in hiding anything. I believe the more you inform the people, the better off the people can make judgments for their own lives. But with that being said, I would also maintain the drains that we have existing to try to stop any problem from coming up. And because I know the last thing people want are their taxes levied. So I would work hard on that and be very transparent in the process. Thanks.
Joe, you have a 1 minute time frame to respond if you choose. Put your mic on, please.
There are numerous ways for the drain commissioner to begin acting towards maintaining a particular drain. And first one would be having 5 property owners in a drainage district petition. It could also be a petition from the township itself or the city of Midland or I believe the road commission in the state of Michigan, MDOT. So there are a lot of ways that petitions can be received by the drain commissioner. But overall, it is in the best interest of everyone that the process be adhered to and that everyone involved has a voice and they know that what their rights are and the timeliness of those rights to be enacted. So that's all I have for that.
Cal, you want to take advantage of the 1 minute reply?
Yeah.
Oh, you need to put it on. There you go.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it is a process, and it is a legal process that has to take place. And there's a lot of people, even in a group of people, there's going to be people that are unhappy, and there's going to be people that are happy about it. But what you have to take into consideration is what will anything that is petitioned to the drain commissioner, that it would best serve the people and the environment. So that's all I got.
Okay. You want to leave your mic on because this next question goes to you first.
Oh.
What would success look like if or when the proposed plan for the 4 Lakes Task Force is implemented? Well,
in my understanding, I thought it was already implemented. I think the sale process is the only thing left to go through. I think with that going through and it has a board that runs it, I think some better decisions can be made on that dam. Because when the water was coming down on that day that we had about 7 inches, I was making a call to lower the dam 4 feet, and because I was out walking it and looking at it. But I think the task force, with it being ran by a board and several people putting in their input, I think that's a great decision. I think if the state owned it, then the state has a infinite amount of money, just about. With this 4 Lake task force, that burden's going to come to the people to pay for that, to keep the task force going. It'll be levied onto the people's property taxes.
Okay, thank you. Joe, your response, 2 minutes.
Well, I know a lot of the players involved, and I know a lot of them are committed to bringing back the lakes so that the full convenience and usage of the lakes can be had. There are over 8,000 people affected by the lack of water. A lot of lifestyles have changed. The tax base could ultimately be affected by the lakes not coming back. So I'm fairly confident that the task force and working with the state and the local communities, that the lakes will come back. The dams will be rebuilt. Electricity will help pay for that to offset some of the assessments. And I believe that they will then be able to utilize those dams to more fully help with the flood control. This, as Cal mentioned, in May, when we had that flood, we've had more rain than that in the past, but the lake levels were much higher than they had been in the past. They usually lower them down before rains come, so they can catch some of the volume before it goes down to the Tittabawassee River and through the city of Midland. So I think if the scenario works out, and I think the momentum and the number of people that are involved and are committed to it, I believe we'll see it back to normal, but being more effective in flood control for everyone downstream. Thank you.
Thank you. Cal, would you like a 1 minute response?
Yeah, I was reading an article. I believe that they're talking about getting the Edenville Dam back up by spring, and maybe the Sanford Dam by Memorial Day. And I don't know if that's wishful thinking, but that's what I've been hearing. I walked around that lake, or that, to a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of them, and there's a lot of discouraged people out there from this the dam breaking. There's a lot of, I've helped people fill out their permits and all that. I just hope that it does fill back up and the people can get back with their lives, because without that lake, the property values are just going to plummet, and then there goes the revenue of that and the revenue that the county can get.
Okay, thank you. Joe, 1 minute reply.
Well, I think our entire region is at stake as far as the lakes not being lakes. It's been part of our culture, our infrastructure. It is how a lot of the local governments have established their budgets. And without that, it would drastically diminish, I think, our ability to live fully and conveniently in this community. So I, for one, am going to do whatever I can to make sure that those lakes do come back, and that they're safe to operate, the dams are safe to operate, and then also to better help with flood control. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, you're up with this next question. As the county enforcing agent for soil erosion and sediment control permits, how do you make sure property owners follow the conditions of their permits?
Well, I think the most difficult part, because of the geographic size of the county, is sometimes you have to rely on contractors, individuals to follow the permitting process. If we don't know that it's existing, then it's very difficult to enforce what we don't know is going on. So I think it's important to make sure that we are aware of the earth activities that are going on throughout the county, and that to make sure that the people that are initiating the earth activities are aware of their the legal issues and the environmental issues with soil erosion, and why it's important to protect our waterways from soils, excess soils, and contaminants, because it does affect all of us, and it affects our next generations as well. Thank you.
Okay. Joe, you have 2 minutes to respond with your answer.
You mean Cal?
Cal, yes.
Could you say the question again for me, please?
As the county enforcing agent for soil erosion and sediment control permits, how do you make sure property owners follow the conditions of their permits?
Well, that's a pretty simple one, actually. One, I would have a rapport with all the people that are filing for these permits, and after they get the permits, I'd make sure that they understand what is expected of that permit, and then follow up and talking to them and going out there seeing and making sure that they're getting it right. If if it's wrong and they put in too small of a culvert, then you're holding back too much sediment. And if you put in too big of a culvert, you're letting through too much water and you're washing sediment down the stream and you're plugging up something else. So the drain commissioner has to get involved to make sure that that process is done correctly.
Okay. Joe, would you like a 1-minute reply?
I think it is the soil erosion issue, or any kind of permitting, is something that a lot of folks resist. And I understand from both sides of the equation, being in municipal government, but also being on the contractor side, and then also as a private property owner. It has to do with the relationship that officials issuing the permits and the people pursuing the permits. And I think it has to be a respectful relationship where people are not afraid to follow the rules. They're not afraid to come and get permits. And so that it's more of an encouraged, so that everyone can take a stake in the environment and protecting our waterways. Thank you.
Okay. Cal, do you wish to make a 1-minute reply?
It's good.
Okay. You get the next question.
Okay.
How do you balance the needs of the local property owners and the needs of the downstream residents in deciding how drains should be managed? And again, you have 2 minutes.
Well, that would be a on case, every case would be different. But you'd have to take in the whole consideration. If you're opening up some drains down here, I know of one incident that they repaired the drain upstream, but didn't do anything downstream. So the water flowed good all the way through to where the main drain was not cleaned out. So the water backed up. So you'd have to follow up with that on every case and just go through it and make sure that that if you're fixing it up here and water's going to flow a little bit different without all the trees and the sticks and the debris in the way, that downstream, that it's not going to interfere with the downstream residents.
Okay. Joe, you have 2 minutes for your answer to the question.
Well, I'm going to kind of add on to what Cal had said, because I was just recently at a drain informational meeting in Lee Township, and that is specifically the case where the problem with petitioning is that it goes in the order of how drains are petitioned. And it just so happens that this particular drain in Lee Township, the upstream was petitioned before the downstream. And so you do have this situation, which I think is problematic. And I question why there may not have been some influence there, perhaps on saying, this one would be better off waiting until you do the downstream. Typically, when I was maintaining the drains for the city, we would always start downstream, work our way upstream, for exactly what Cal was describing. But it is to maintain a person's rights to their property. They do have rights to their property, but everyone else has rights to clean water, functioning drains. So we have to go about it as if we're all in partnership with our properties, not just we're a lone standing individual and doing what you want to do with your property without affecting others. So I think we all need to work together on that.
Okay. Cal, do you want to make a 1-minute reply?
Well, I know exactly the job he's talking about. I looked at that myself, and I couldn't understand that whole process that took place. So what he said is, I agree with 100%. You gotta put it all together. You got to go downstream. If there's a plan going upstream, you got to look downstream. It's just a big puzzle. You got to put it all together and make everybody happy. Try to make everybody happy.
Thank you. Did you want to make a 1 minute reply, Joe? You gotta turn it on.
I think I'm good on that topic.
Okay, very good. You get the first one. You're the first one on the next question. Are there parts of Midland County currently underserved by the county drain system where expansion of the system could effectively reduce flood frequency and severity?
Well, there are certain areas of the town or the county that folks may not understand what the drain commissioner's function is. They may not know necessarily how to get drains cleaned. And there are a lot of drains out in the out county, I call it the out county, that haven't been cleaned in probably 60, 70 years. The city of Midland is probably the most vulnerable for any of activities that are going on to the north and to northwest, because we have a 2,500 square mile drainage, the Tittabawassee Drainage Basin, and the majority of that water comes through Midland at some point. So earth activities that occur outside of the city, allowing water to get through to the Tittabawassee quicker is problematic for the city. And I think the city has a large stake in protecting itself, but it can't really protect itself from what's happening in the county as much. It's a difficult situation.
Okay. Joe, you have 2 minutes.
You keep calling me Joe. My name's Cal.
Cal, I'm so sorry, Cal.
Okay.
Look down.
Yeah, I do believe there's some parts of the county that are underserved. One of them is a while ago, just right over here to a little bit to the north of me, over off Prairie Road. Back when they put the water in, Sterling, company by the name of Sterling, came through, and there was a pretty good ditch over there. It was probably about 6 foot deep. But when they ran the water underneath it, what they did is they filled in the ditch, and the ditch was no longer that deep. So what happened was the water all backed up and flooded these people's roads. And I believe now there is a petition to get that fixed on the books right now. It would probably be Joe's or my responsibility to follow through on that. But that area there, and then there's another area that is out over by the Bullet Creek High School, that there is water over there that stays extremely close to the surface and there's housing over there that I've been over there personally and seen this. Those people's sub pumps over there kick on and kick off about every 15 seconds. And some of them got 2 and 3 sub pumps because they're so worried about their basements flooded. And it's just been getting worse over the years. So that would be an area that I would look at. If those people petitioned me to go over there and look at it, I would definitely do it. And I would also check over in that area and all these areas that the maintenance is done on the culverts or anything that is taking the water away from those areas.
Thank you. Joe, do you want to make a 1 minute reply?
Yeah, I think part of the negativity that a drain commissioner might get is because people don't feel that they're doing enough. But a lot of it is that they have to be petitioned. These drain maintenance functions have to be petitioned. So the people are buying in on wanting it cleaned. Now there are some areas where they just absolutely have to be cleaned because they're affecting a lot of folks upstream or even downstream. And I think the drain commissioner can be a little more proactive in perhaps looking at the entire county as a whole, finding out where some of the bottlenecks are, and kind of getting people to move perhaps in maintaining those areas, so things can be done more of an orderly fashion.
Thank you. Cal?
No, I'm good on that topic. I think we covered it good.
Okay. Well, it's time then for our closing statements. And Cal, you get the first chance, and you have 1 minute.
Okay. Well, I believe that with all my experience of working in construction and excavating, I'm also got that kind of a background. I worked on a farm where we had a drain going right through the middle of it. And so I know what it's about when a farmer's fields are flooding and they're losing crops, because it happened to us when I was a kid growing up on the farm. And I know how to file for all these permits because you got to deal with FEMA quite a bit. I filed for quite a few permits for people in the town from the dams breaking. And every one of the people that I filed for the permit, I also got them money to fix their houses from the flooding. So I got enough background to do the job. I really would take great pride in it, and I would definitely get involved and be part of the community with it.
Thank you very much. Joe, you're next.
Well, I've spent pretty much my entire life in the field in some aspect or another, or administratively. I know both sides of the situation. I know how to move the office of the drain commissioner more to a modern type office of communication and data analysis, and because I've done that for many years with the city. But my experience in the field and my family heritage puts me in touch with drainage itself, drainage issues. And I believe with my experience, my dedication to community in many areas it will be a good fit, and I'll be able to hit the ground running should I be the next drain commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. So voters, that's it. The candidates for the drain commissioner have given you a few of their views. We hope something said here today will help you in your voting decisions. In closing, here are some state proposals that we will see on our ballots.
Statewide Proposal 20-1, Michigan Use of State and Local Park Funds Amendment. A proposed constitutional amendment to allow money from oil and gas mining on state-owned lands to continue to be collected in state funds for land protection and creation and maintenance of parks, nature areas, and public recreation facilities, and to describe how money in those state funds can be spent. Referred to the ballot by the legislature, this proposal would allow the State Parks Endowment Fund to continue receiving money from sales of oil and gas from state-owned lands to improve, maintain, and purchase land for state parks and for fund administration until its balance reaches $800 million. Require subsequent oil and gas revenues from state-owned lands to go into the Natural Resources Trust Fund. Require at least 20% of endowment fund annual spending to go towards state park improvement. Require at least 25% of trust fund annual spending to go toward parks and public recreation areas, and at least 25% towards land conservation. Statewide Proposal 20-2, Michigan Search Warrant for Electronic Data Amendment. A proposed constitutional amendment to require a search warrant in order to access a person's electronic data or electronic communications. Referred to the ballot by the legislature, this proposed constitutional amendment would prohibit unreasonable searches or seizures of a person's electronic data or electronic communications, require a search warrant to access a person's electronic data or electronic communications under the same conditions currently required for the government to obtain a search warrant to search a person's house or seize a person's things.
I want to thank the candidates for participating in this forum. Even more important, a sincere thank you goes to the candidates for their willingness to serve as elected officials in these challenging times of governing. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you for your time and interest in watching this forum. Members of the League of Women Voters of the Midland area sincerely hope that what you've seen and heard on this program today will help you with your voting decisions. We believe it is vital that citizens demonstrate informed and active participation in our government. So please be sure to vote. For more information on our candidates, go into vote411.org, an online voter guide published by the League of Women Voters. Polls will open on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd, and be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you are voting in person, be sure you know the location of your designated voting place and have your necessary ID with you. Absentee ballots are available for all registered voters in Michigan. You can submit an application at clerk's offices in the city and at township clerk's offices throughout Midland County. Absentee ballots began to be distributed September 24th. They must be returned to your clerk's office before the close of the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd at 8 p.m. If you're returning your ballot by mail, remember to use 2 stamps and mail it as early as possible, ideally before the 19th of October, to ensure it is received before the deadline. If you are using a designated drop box for return ballots, you can do so at those clerks that have their drop box right outside their office. You need to make sure it's your clerk and not some other township or some other township. If you have questions on absentee voting or any other aspect of the election process, please contact the appropriate clerk's office. Finally, I want to extend a very special thank you to the people who have made this program possible. Our production manager and Zoom host, manager of MCTV, Matt Richardson, production director, Matt Thomas, Chris Ferguson, and also Mary Jo Kelly. Thanks also to the following contributors of the League of Women Voters of the Midland area. Sue McAllister, Voter Services Chair, Timer Jane Worth, and Zoom Coordinator Katherine Redwine. And with that, again, please remember to vote on November 3rd, and thank you.